Thank you.
You're
Sorry
welcome.
about that. So glad you told me. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are kicking off our author interview series for the Get Published Industry Experts Share Their Secrets, which is going to be released May 8th. We are so excited. And I have co-author Larissa Soehn, CEO of Next Page Wellness and Coaching, to come on and talk about her chapter. And so if you've ever said, I want to write a book someday, but I'm not ready yet, then you're going to want to stick around and watch this interview because we're going to be digging into that with Larissa. Hi, Larissa.
Hello. Thank you for
Hi.
having me.
So nice to have you here. Thank you for joining. And of course, we're so excited about the release of this book and everything it means for, aspiring authors, people who have always said, I want to write a book someday. This is going to be an amazing resource for them. So your chapter is called If Not Now, When?
Mhm.
And you really dig into, some of the things that hold people back when they're writing. And you are a 2-time published author, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus some children's books. So technically 5.
5 times published
Yeah.
author. So you know a little bit about what you're talking about here. And you also help people in writing and publishing their own books. You really join them on that journey and help them kind of maneuver through the world of publishing. So we're going to be digging into some of those things today. If you're joining, say hello. If you're joining the replay, say hi. Let us know. Say get published. We have some exciting announcements at the end, so stick around and make sure to watch. So you at the beginning of your chapter, you start by saying that when you started your coaching business, you knew that writing a book was going to be an important part to showcase you as a coach. Why was that an instinct for you? What kind of, how did that?
Well, so my background is sci-fi. That's what I started writing in. And it was this incredible transformation happened when I published my first sci-fi book. I went from, I'm a fairly introverted person, so large crowds don't really do it for me. But I went from being in large crowds and kind of feeling, a little bit like a wallflower to having this really cool fact about myself. I suddenly started saying, like, hey, I wrote this book. And I just casually mention it. And the people's faces, they're like, what? You wrote a book? Like, that is so cool. And I could see it on them, in their minds, on their faces, their body language, that they were looking at me in a new light, a new level of.
This was after your first book, right?
This is after my first. This is after my sci-fi book.
So this one wasn't even like intentional. We'll talk a little bit about that. So just you writing a book really differentiated you, right?
Yeah, people were like, that is so cool. Like, you must be an amazing writer. And they hadn't even read my work. And so when I went to start my business, I knew that if I were to write actually in my niche, what that would open up for me, what doors that would open. And I was bang on when I published my How to Write a Book. And
and we're going to talk about some of the ways that it's really opened up business and coming through, and just like expanded your business and you personally in some different ways. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But the idea of writing a book can feel overwhelming, right? And you give some really tangible refrains for people, because sometimes it's like, oh, I have to add this book in, or I want to publish, but it's like another thing. And so you talk about a few ways that people can kind of reframe their brain. So let's talk a bit about that.
Yeah. So in my chapter, I talk a lot about how my first book was an accident. I didn't mean to write it. It just kind of happened.
And talk a little bit about that. What was the accident? How did that?
Yeah. So funny story. My husband and I used to write mystery games for children. That's what we used to sell. We used to sell them on Etsy, and they were wildly popular.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is so fun.
Oh my God. Like, they were so cool. We built a couple for adults, but the children's ones were really where it was at. So I wanted to create a new game, where the puzzles took you to different planets, kind of a thing. And they had aliens and adventure and all the fun stuff that children like. And so I started writing the story out, and I started writing it as mystery. So you get to this point and you have to solve this puzzle. And I got about 10,000 words in, and I was like, this is too long for a game. And I'm like nowhere near done my story. And I remember turning to my husband. He came into my office one day. He's like, what are you working on? And I was like, I think I'm writing a book. And it just kind of like spilled out to me of me. And so
Wow,
it
that's
was,
an amazing way to start
yeah,
a book, and you
it
really
was,
felt like it was a creative expression and an outlet for you, right?
it was totally,
Yeah.
I was in a pretty rough spot in my life, and I
Mhm.
needed the mental distraction, and I need the physicality of like actually having a goal. And
Mm.
so I wrote this book. What I talk about in my chapter, the big difference between my first book, which is like, it's just over 90,000 words. It's pretty, oh, I have it here. Like it's a sizable
Yeah.
book
Mhm.
compared to the second book I wrote for my business. Like it's much thinner.
Yeah.
This book
It's
was
very
so much harder.
succinct.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was so much harder to write because I had built it up in my mind that I was going to write a book. And that's kind of what
Mm.
I talk about in my chapter is just like reframing your perspective around writing a book, because a lot of
Mhm.
people get stuck on like, oh my God, I have to write, 30,000 plus words. Like I can never do that.
Yeah.
And it's more of like, no, I have to write 500 words today. And that's it.
Mhm.
That's your goal for today. Or I have to write for an hour today. So
Yeah.
just like rethinking our goals.
And you also say you get to write, right? Really
Yes.
using it as a break from your busy world. You talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that idea too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I specialize in nonfiction for coaches. That's what we do. So it is
Mhm.
still business oriented. They're still thinking about their business and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's this beautiful thing that happens when we write. And yes, they're business books, but we build a piece of our soul into it as well. Our story goes
Absolutely. It's
into it.
our businesses are such an extension of us when we're coaches or
Yeah.
consultants or online entrepreneurs or, any type. It's like, so it absolutely does extend from
Yeah.
us to our
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you get to go on this journey through
Mhm.
your book, and it's such an honor to sit with your own feelings and emotions that way.
Absolutely.
To like it's so like these interviews, I can come on and do these interviews day after day and spread the same general message, but when I go to write it, there's so much more reflection on
Mm.
what you're going to say and like how you're going to say it, and the potentials of who you're going to connect with is just so different.
Absolutely, and did you find, especially writing your second book, did you find that you got so much clarity on your messaging? So when you come on to interviews, when you're talking about your business, it pretty much just lines it out for you, right? Because so many people, I mean, when you write a book about your business, you learn a lot about your business,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, so when I started, I was brand new to coaching with this book. I think I had been doing it for like just setting up my business for about 3 months, and the book was one of the big things on my goal list to launch my business. I was going to launch it on the back of my book. And I didn't have a program. I didn't know what I was going to be teaching it. I just knew that I was going to help people write books.
Mhm.
This book is split into four main pillars, and I rooted my business in that. My whole program, my coaching program, my one-on-one containers all center around what I put in this book because I knew it would work. I knew this is what the audiences
That's
needed.
amazing.
It's
I think it's so
clarity.
amazing for people. So if you're listening and you are maybe at the beginning of your business, because I think a lot of people think, I'm not there yet. I'm not
Oh,
ready. My business isn't ready. And here you're saying you are at the beginning of your business, and this book was the framework for how you structured your business.
yeah. Yeah, it
And it
was.
also served as a marketing tool and a lead like all the things.
Yeah.
So, regardless of where you're at in your business, I think it's so important to really think about the benefits of how writing a book is really, regardless of where you're at. Like, there's so many, where you're at, you're going to get different benefits
Yeah.
depending on where you're at. but it's always a good time to write a book. So I want to talk a bit about that. Um, because a lot of people say, not now, but someday I want to write a book. How many people have told you that?
So many. You can't even count.
And so what do you say to those people? What's your rallying cry?
I have an analogy that I use, and I use it in my chapter, that writing a book is like having a child. It really is. And
Mhm,
I know, I had my baby 5 years ago. She's a spunky little kindergartner now. But when I was pregnant with her and when we decided to have her, I knew in my heart there was never going to be a perfect time.
yeah.
My
Do
career
you
was
wait for the perfect time to have a baby? You're not gonna have a baby. Like,
exactly.
or get to have a child or however that child
Yeah,
comes in, like, you won't it will not happen, and I
it
think
will not
it's so
happen.
true. It's the same thing as
Yeah,
writing a book. If you wait for the perfect time, you might as well just keep waiting because life just doesn't,
exactly.
like, open you have to make the perfect time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to find all the ways that this is the right time for you, and support all of the ways that this is going to work, because I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make time for this child. I'm going to make space for this child. I'm going to grow for this child. Your
Mhm,
book is the same thing. It is an extension of you. You're giving birth to it, right?
mhm.
No time is ever going to be perfect, but what are you willing to miss out on in the meantime? Like,
And writing the book makes it the perfect time.
yes.
It
Yeah.
makes it the perfect time because you're basically bringing yourself up and saying, I'm doing this. And it's amazing the things that clear out that come to you, the support. And, it's just like having a child. You get the community, you get these things because you're
Mhm.
like setting this intention and you're like saying, okay, I'm rolling up my sleeves and this is
Yeah.
the time. So if you have ever thought, I want to write a book someday, um, we're encouraging you to say today is the day and get published. Industry experts share their secrets is coming out May 8th, and Larissa's going to have her chapter with all of her wisdom along with 16 other chapters from people across the publishing industry, really here to say we can help support you and guide you along the way.
Mhm.
um, so some of you talk about the secret benefits of writing a book. You could talk about the connection, credibility, sales in books equals conversations. You talk about confidence, how it brings an audience from cold to hot, how it actually saves you time, how it builds in authority and opportunity. Out of all of those things, which has been the biggest impact it's had on you in your business as far as being an author?
That's a hard question.
Well, maybe
Um,
just highlight a couple, your favorite ways.
yeah, so I'm gonna split it between opportunities and confidence.
Mhm.
So the opportunities that came to me from my book are unlike anything that I think I could have done by myself. I mean, just the podcasts that I get onto, interviews like this that I get to do.
Mhm.
Um,
So
I've
people
had
are actually
people.
reaching out to you and saying, "We'd like to have you
Yes,
as a guest on our
yes.
podcast." So you're not necessarily even doing a lot of pitching, right? People are like, "I saw
No.
your book," or
Yeah.
and that's opening up this opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And the pitches I make, I start with, international best-selling author, and
Yeah.
woo, there goes the door, right? Like, it's wide open. Come on in.
And
Yeah.
that's a big piece of your business now. You help people achieve that bestseller ranking when your
Yeah.
clients come to work with you.
Yeah,
So
I do.
you really walk them through the writing, through the publishing process, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of a one-stop shop, which is,
Yeah.
what I love about my program. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the opportunities. And then the opportunity to meet people, to engage with people, to learn about them. Like, that's that's why I do what I do, is I want to
Mhm.
be a part of their world. I want to help them thrive and grow. And so just the opportunities that, people read my book and they come to me asking for help, looking for guidance.
It's
Um,
incredible, and I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, of another industry that you get to be so integrated into people, because like you said, a book is an extension of them, and it brings
Yeah.
up so many opportunities for growth, and getting to hold that space for people is so incredible, and people
Yeah.
really invite you in because you kind of have to be this intimate part of this process of
Yeah.
publishing, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's so many opportunities for people in publishing. If you're an aspiring author and you're thinking, I'd like to, or if you have a book published and it's maybe hasn't done some of the things that you would like to, make sure to mark your calendars for May 8th. Get Published Industry Experts Share Their Secrets is going to be live. We have a live launch party. I'm going to hook up a link so that you can join the Facebook group and the wait list so you can be the first to know when the book is released on Amazon. We would love for you to come and help us and learn and connect with these amazing authors. Larissa, how can people connect with you personally if they are somewhere on their path and think that you might be the perfect person to help them?
Yeah, so I have 2 streams like you mentioned. I help people write their books and publish their books, so that you can find more information at larissasoehn.coach.
I will
You
link
can
up to that.
Yeah, you can find my full program there. You can figure out how to get in touch with me, all that good stuff. And then for the already published authors, I do offer marketing support there as well. So I do have a program that gets you to bestseller on Amazon, guaranteed. So that program, you can find more details at bestsellerbootcamp.ca.
Make sure to check out Larissa, follow her on her social media channels. I know she's pretty active on TikTok,
Yes.
and is doing interviews because she has these amazing books, and people are, saying, yes, we want you to come talk about your book. She's the perfect person to help walk you through your business book, writing through publishing. If that's something that you have in your ether somewhere saying, I want to do that, connect with Larissa. I know she's going to be a great guidance for you. We're closing down this interview. Thank you so much, Larissa, for coming
Yeah.
on and talking about this book and your experience and expertise. So grateful to know you. So grateful to be connected. Tomorrow, 4:30 Mountain Standard Time, I'm going to be interviewing Bridget Holder with The Art of Great Publishing, another co-author of Get Published, and Book Mama. She's going to be talking about her own journey into publishing and kind of how this has progressed for her. I know you all will get some inspiration, so make sure to tune in for that. Mark your calendars for May 8th. Get on the list so you're the first to know. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here, Larissa.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
everyone, and take care.